Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Lifelong Learning Training, the professional development training for teachers. This program is brought to you in partnership with the Federal Ministry of Education, Africa Code Week, and the Vivian Fowler School for Girls. So I'm going to start by welcoming everyone. I know you're all teachers. Teachers don't like to be taught because you know everything. You're the fountain of knowledge. You're where we all derived our knowledge from. So I will start by asking you to share with me where you're from, what school you're from. It'd be nice to hear you or to see you type that into the chat, so we know where the people that we're talking to today, where they're from. So I'm checking the chat screen and I'm looking at the schools. So let's start typing. It'd be great to get to know you, to know which schools you're from, what you're doing, what classes you're taking in those schools. So let's keep that going for 1 minute. And I'm sure you can see what's on my screen. Life as a teacher starts the day you realize that you're always a learner. Meaning for everyone, for all of us, learning is a constant thing. Learning is something that we do through life. So I can see Masterville School is Solo, Lagos. I want to see more schools show up. So, as I said, as you can read on this slide, it says life as a teacher starts the day you realize that you're always a learner. We're always learning. And what differentiates the learner from people who don't learn, who believe that, okay, I've gotten to that level in my life where I don't need to study anything anymore because now I know it all. So that's I'm showing you here the fixed and the growth mindset. So these are two differentiators in people. But some people have fixed mindset and some have growth mindset. So when you as a person or as a learner, when you think you've gotten to that point where you believe that your basic abilities intelligence, and talents are fixed traits. You can't change them. That's all you're born with. That's you're going to die with. That's you. That's what you are. Then it means you have something called the fixed mindset. But for those who have the growth mindset, they continue to believe that their abilities and intelligence can be developed with effort, learning, and persistence. They know there's always an opportunity for them to learn something new. Then they will continue to grow from one stage in their life to another stage to another stage, and they keep prospering and they keep becoming successful. And those are the people that you look at and you say, oh, this guy is working very hard, he's learning, he's progressing, he's making progress. Because the harder you try, the luckier you get. So for you to be successful in life, it's you preparing, it's opportunity meets preparation. So you continue to prepare yourself for an unknown future. And suddenly you just see that the stars are lining up for you that, oh, I started this thing a few years ago, and now I need to use it now. It's because you've been preparing yourself for a future that you can only imagine. So this is the differentiator between the fixed and the growth mindset. I picked out this very good definition by Carol Dweck, who is an American psychologist. So we brought you together, teachers, so we can try to inculcate the growth mindset in all of you. Some of you already have this, but like I said, it is a learning process. Life is a learning, we're going to be learning through life. Every point, every turn, every stage in our lives, we need to keep learning something new. So we've put together some skills that we think, everyone should have. If you want to progress, if you want to make progress, you can be an adult, you can be a child, you can be anything. You can be anybody. If you don't have some of this skill set, you're going to struggle. The skill of creativity can be used in so many different ways. In so many different ways. You can progress from, just working in an organization to creating something within that organization to become something called an entrepreneur, where you're able to refine the work process within the organization and you're able to make the organization function better and run better. You need to have problem-solving skills. We go through different problems in our lives on a daily basis. We need to have an approach to solve these problems. It's a mindset. Some would see a problem, some would see an opportunity. Some would see a challenge, some would see a way to turn the challenge around. So challenges don't define us. They make us stronger, they make us better. And the only way you could tackle a challenge is knowing how to solve a problem. So we're hoping that through this process, you're going to learn to gain the skills of problem solving as well as critical thinking, where you're able to think outside of the box and look at things in so many different ways to be able to make things right and do right things. As teachers, you all need to have leadership skills because you're leading students. And you're not only leading students in your schools where you teach, you lead every day in your life, in church, in mosques, everywhere you go. Leadership gets foisted upon you in your groups where you need somebody to be the leader here and make a decision. Even at home with your kids, you're leading them. So we're going to share our own ideas with you on how we think you could be a better leader or a good leader if you're an aspiring leader. So communication skills is, it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. It's being able to pass your message across and pass it across so that people understand. In so many situations in life, you see people try to say things, but then they say the biggest myth about communication is the actual fact that you think this has happened. So you're saying something to somebody. Do they really understand what you're saying? Are you saying what you want them to hear? Or are they just, are you just saying something and they're hearing something different? Because, communication is key. So collaboration. Further down in the slides, you're going to see how we're hoping we'll be able to foster a community of practice for you teachers, because you're in the same group. You can learn from each other, you can work with each other, you can collaborate and do stuff. And together you could do great things. Individually, you can do something, but as a collective, you could do so much and achieve so much. So we're hoping to be able to cover all of those as we progress. So information and data management. Information, data management, this is the new gold. This is the new, so oil is data, if you ask me. So the new gold for us, the new treasure for us is information and data, because we can use this in so many different ways. How do we use information? How do we manage our data? We're hoping to be able to take you through some of this as we proceed. Adaptability. You need to be able to change, to be adaptable to different situations, because you find yourself in different situations every day. In life, in work, in school, in every facet of your life, you're constantly facing different things, and you need to be adaptable from one situation to another situation. So we're hoping we'll be able to bring you some useful materials that will get you to that level. So curiosity, the more you're curious, the more you find out things. If you're probing, if you're always asking the why, you're likely to find information. And the students that you work with in school, they're always looking for the why. They don't want the teachers to stand in front of the class and answer all their questions. They want you to put them in a situation where they're able to, carry out their own research, find out information on their own. That's why they're always asking the why. And introspection. Every human being, you need to be able to take a minute and say, okay, I want to reflect on what I've done in the past few days. And I want to see what I did right and what I did wrong, or what I need to get better at, or what I need to improve upon. It's called introspection. You want to reflect, and so you can get better. So how are we going to achieve all of this lifelong learning skills that I mentioned? We're going to take you through a couple of models, some of which you have selected and some of which you have suggested. I think in the form you filled, you suggested, we put in some courses, you selected some of them, some selected all of them, and some suggested some new or additional courses that you felt would be useful for you. So all of these courses will not just be us coming here to talk to you and do death by PowerPoint, where we show you PowerPoint all day long. It'll be a mix of personal, professional, and learning resources. We're going to, if we're talking entrepreneurship, we're going to introduce you to entrepreneurs who would come here and talk to you about how they've been able to develop a craft and they're still managing it. So it's called personal and professional development for something, because even in your work, as you're learning the technical stuff, you need to still learn things that you could use in your personal life that will better your life. So these are the courses that we have prescribed. But like I said, other courses are being suggested by all of you teachers. So the courses that we prescribed initially are emotional intelligence, virtual learning pedagogy, and entrepreneurship, design thinking, Scratch, which is we'll be using the material from Africa Code Week, which is a very popular program that most of you all already know. We'll be using Scratch, which is a program developed by MIT. And we're going to be training some who have selected Python. We're going to be teaching computational thinking as well. So, but like I said, this wouldn't just be death by PowerPoint, where we just come here and just, go through PowerPoint with you and without having practical stuff. So I'll start with emotional intelligence. What are you probably going to learn from this? You're going to learn about emotional intelligence, which is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions and those of the people around you. People with a high degree of emotional intelligence know what they're feeling, what their emotions mean, and how these emotions can affect other people around you. We're in a situation now, the COVID-19 situation, it's something that's unusual. It's something that we've never seen before. And this is affecting people in different ways. It's affecting you as adults, it's affecting students that you teach, it's affecting everyone. And this will make us, react in certain ways that we usually wouldn't, because it's affecting us emotionally. So we will take you through the process of understanding your emotions, becoming emotionally intelligent. Because if you're in control of your emotions, you can determine how you want to react. But if your emotion is in control of you, it's a different ballgame completely. So we're going to go through that. We're going to take you through self-awareness, self-regulation, social skills, empathy, motivation, and all of these other things that would make you emotionally intelligent. So we're going to look at online learning pedagogy. We're going to look at the why, the how, and the what. The coronavirus situation is foisted upon us a big, massive change that no one, we're really not prepared for this. It just came upon us unplanned. But then in life, some certain changes are forced, and certain changes or change come, in their own time, because the time is right for that change to come. It's here. So the way you teach and the way people, the learners that you teach, interact with education, or education of these people will change. The approach will change, the method will change, the tools will change, and the mode will change. So we're going to be taking you through some of this stuff. So we're going to be looking at the what, the how, and the why of online learning should change. So some of the things we're going to be looking at is the approach, and the needs and the prior experience of learning, social interpersonal skills, preferred learning styles of different individuals that you teach, and the ICT competence of those who are teaching it. The approach will be matched with preferred learning styles and intended outcomes. And we're also going to be looking at the practice, which needs to match what the learners need and the resources within the learning environment. So we'll be going to be looking at the technology part as well, what's out there for you to leverage, to teach in this modern age. So all of this, we're going to go to in-depth as we proceed. Entrepreneurship. This is something that everyone can learn. I got into a conversation with somebody a while back where we were saying, are entrepreneurs born or are they made? I think it's a bit of both. Like I said at the start of the presentation, there's nothing you can learn. You may have some traits that you are innate. You're born with certain traits, but there's certain traits that you could also learn as well. So some certain skills that you could also learn, and that's the skill of entrepreneurship. Even as you work in your office and your schools, as you teach in all of the schools that you're teaching at the moment, you can still do so many things. You could create, you can make what's going on in the school a lot better. You could become an entrepreneur in the school. where you're making changes within the school. You're refining processes, you're refining how you do things, or in your private life, you could create an enterprise where you start to do other things to augment what you're earning on a daily basis. Or you could teach or inculcate the practice of entrepreneurship into your curriculum, into the kids that you teach, into the curriculum, so they're able to come up with that mindset that I can make something. I don't have to depend on using things that other people create. Anyone can make something. But for anyone and everyone to be able to make something, they need to have that passion to want to make something. So it starts with the passion, it starts with the building the confidence, becoming versatile as you start to do this. You have the positive attitude, you're honest about what you want to do. And you remember you have a growth mindset that I want to change my state at this point. I want to move from the level I'm at into another level. So to do entrepreneurship, we have a time-tested method or approach that you can use. And this is something that most entrepreneurs will use. If you have a tool to guide you, it makes your trade better. It makes anything you're trying to do work better for you, because you can refine, you can do so many things. So the design thinking process, it's a world-renowned approach. It's used by engineers, by builders, by developers, by product developers, product manufacturers, and in any way and every way. So it's a simple process where you start by identifying who you want to design something for, or you want to create a product as an entrepreneur. Who do I want to make it for? Then you empathize with that person. You create a persona in your mind. This person, what would they like? Would they like this to be this way? Would they like to be that way? What will make it easier for them to use? And all of those things. And then you define a problem statement, because you're trying to solve a problem. You're trying to create something that would serve a purpose, because you see a gap in the market for that. But when I said entrepreneurship earlier, I don't only mean commercial entrepreneurship. You could be a social entrepreneur where you're trying to solve social issues within your community. And we'll go into that in details where we give you a lot of examples and all that. So you define a problem statement and the design thinking process, and then you ideate. So you have this idea already. You try to build on the idea. The more you think about an idea and the more you filter it through the ideate process, the more ideas you're able to generate and diverge till you have a lot of ideas, and you start to unpack the ideas to select the winning ideas, the best ideas that you can work with. And then from that stage, you can move to creating a prototype of the product that you want to create, and then test. But at every point, as you go along these phases, you need to get feedback from those who you're trying to create this for, so you can fail fast and fail better. Because if you start from the empathize and go straight to test without getting feedback from those who you're trying to make it for, you may end up making something that nobody wants. So we're going to help you through the design thinking process, where you'll be able to understand how to use this effectively to create, to become an entrepreneur. And for those teachers who are really interested and who have selected coding as one of the courses that they want to take, or the only course that they want to take, we're going to be introducing you to Scratch. Scratch is a fantastic program. That's what we use for Africa Code Week, which some of you have attended. It's a visual programming that you could teach to young kids or young learners in your classrooms to learn how to code first. But that's not the only thing they gain from learning from learning coding. They learn so many other things. They learn how to be patient. They learn that things don't always work the first time. They learn how to fail and continue to get better till they can fail no more. Because coding is iterative. You try again, you try again, till you get better, till you can fail no more. So we're going to also be introducing you to Python, which is an interpreted high-level general-purpose programming language that has extensive use to develop so many things. Okay? And for some of you who already participated in the first Lego League and the first Tech Challenge, the robotics program, we're going to introduce you to some of those things as well, where you could take these emerging technologies into the classroom to be able to turn your classroom to the 21st century classroom. Okay, so another topic that we're going to be looking at is computational thinking. Is anyone familiar with computational thinking already? If you are, please put this in the into chat. So computational thinking, it's a very useful tool to help you decompose a problem, break it down into smaller chunks, and make it easier for you to manage. Computational thinking is also very useful for pattern recognition, where you're able to analyze and look for a repeating sequence in a set of data. And it's also very good for abstraction. Abstraction is to remove parts of a problem that are unnecessary and make one solution work for multiple problems. The final part of computational thinking is algorithm design or algorithmic thinking. It's a step-by-step instruction on how to do something. You want to go from point A to point B, how do you go about it? So these are things that we're going to take you through in the computational thinking. So what are the probable learning outcomes that we're hoping we'll be able to get out of all of this? So we're going to measure this because you're going to be put into groups. You're going to have access to a module platform where learning will continue after the weekend, the Saturday classes. So some of you will be certificated, and we're hoping that we'll be able to foster a community of practice. A community of practice is groups of people who share a concern or a passion for something they do and learn how to do it better as they interact regularly. So some of you are already on Telegram. That's like it's a micro community of practice there, where ideas can be shared and information can be shared, and we could do know and show. You know something, you show it to other people. So we're creating a domain of relevance and a community where you could all reflect and practice, where you could always all contribute to the practice. So it's a collaborative learning, collaborative for networking, which is connecting, and you can collaborate to do fantastic stuff. So your schedule of activities will be shared every Saturday for 6 weeks. So weekly schedule will be sent via email and via Telegram to all of you once every week. So for those of you already following the YouTube channel, you can see the content being loaded there and all the information being shared there, so you can be up to speed. So, and this is coming to you free. Thank to Coderina, to Africa Code Week by SAP, and to Vivian Fowler, College for Girls, Memorial College for Girls, and then the federal government of Federal Ministry of Education, Nigeria. So I'll leave you with this final quote. Schools shouldn't be just places where students want to learn more, but where teachers want to learn more too. because we're all learners. And if we can inculcate that into our practice and into our mindset, we'll ensure that no child is left behind. Okay, so thank you so much. I'll hand you over to the so our next session is going to start in 5 minutes. It's going to be entrepreneurship. So we have professors of entrepreneurship from a university in Puerto Rico who will be sharing with you, taking through the entrepreneurship journey. So what they've been doing is in Puerto Rico, they've been going through entrepreneurship training with teachers. And we sought them out, we found them, and they're going to be here today to share the same practice that they're taking all over the world, very well renowned in their field. They're bringing that to you live and direct, and they'll be taking you through that process in the next 5 minutes. Okay, so thank you for listening, and we'll say enjoy the next 6 weeks and make the best of the learnings that you're going to get from the, from this, and we're hoping that you'll be able to turn these outcomes to useful and very useful things for you and for your students. Thank you, everyone. So in 5 minutes, I'll bring on the professors, and they will be able to share with you their entrepreneurship process and the journey. Okay, thanks. Hi, Nema.
Hi, how are you?
Hi. Yeah. Hi, Bamidele. So we can see Bamidele's camera. It's on up. Yeah. So my camera is off. I really don't know what's wrong with my laptop.
Don't worry.
It's okay.
Okay, we have another colleague. Is there? Is Alex there?
Should be on the backstage, maybe.
Yeah.
You can bring in.
So it's not on the backstage yet.
Okay. Let me mandar un
So
mensaje.
it's only just so it's only just the two of us, the three of us. So Alex is not here yet.
Yeah, he's going to be. We are talking with him on WhatsApp, so he will be there in a few seconds.
He'll be on in a few minutes. All right.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing today?
Super happy.
Great, very happy, very happy and excited for this opportunity of sharing what we know.
We're so very happy to have you too.
No, it's an honor, really.
And it's going to be fun for the next few weeks.
Oh yeah, it's very ambitious, but very, very focused and very useful tools, which is at the end what they need in order to keep enriching their classes and their important work for society.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining. So when you're ready, we're live already. So when you're ready, we'll just
I can share my screen, right?
Yeah, share your screen, Nema.
Okay, I will do it. Let me see. We are talking with Alex right now, so let's see what's happening with him. He said he's in the page that says that host is going to add him.
Oh no, I can't see him here. So it's just a joke. You can see my screen, I guess.
Let me see.
So it's just the three of us here. He's yet to make it to the backstage.
Okay, I will tell him that go out and in again.
So I hope he went. I hope he's using the right link.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think. That maybe.
Because there are three links in there. There's one for the later schedule, and there's one for now. So he should be using the one for now.
So it's the one in the middle, the trainer's link for the.
Yes, he should be using the one for entrepreneurship.
I will send it anyway. The screenshot again. So.
All right. So okay. So it's Nema's presentation. That's what we have here. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
You have it in on. Oh, perfect. Let me send this to him.
This is super nice. So
really.
now,
And then
so
people
people is seeing us right now. So people, we are waiting for a colleague to start. In the meantime, yeah, we are going to start our presentation in a few seconds.
So Gonzalo, you're live. You can go ahead, please. I'm good. So I'll send you live now, and I'll go to the other class.
Okay.
Yep.
So I think that he is connected. Do you see him?
Oh yes, I see him now.
Oh yes, super.
Right.
Yeah, so we are still ready.
Sorry, I'm here now. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Now we are. Alex,
Yep.
we don't hear you.
Yes, how are you?
Yeah, now we are here.
Hi,
Okay,
Alex.
we're ready.
Yep. So when you're ready, take it away.
Okay, well, I will start right now. So, people, we are very, very excited and honored to be here with you today. We are going to talk to you about how to use the classroom as this place to use entrepreneurship as a power tool to empower students. So a little bit of us. I am Nerma Albertorio. I am the founder and executive director of a nonprofit organization that is called Centro para Emprendedores in Spanish. In English is Center for Entrepreneurs. So we have been working for the past 8 years, helping people to start their businesses in different spaces like universities, communities below poverty, with women, with techpreneurs, with artists. So I am very passionate about it, and I believe that everyone can be an entrepreneur. So entrepreneurs are skills that can be taught. So that's part of our work. So we believe that behind every business there is a person that took a decision to start something. So that's part of our philosophy. So in 5 bullets, I'm first a mother, and that's the main reason why I do all my work, because I think that I have a mission to leave my son with a lot of opportunities. In Puerto Rico, we have this problem of a lot of people getting out the island because they think that we don't have enough opportunities. So I work very hard to teach my students that you don't have to get out of your country, that you can be able to create all the opportunities you need from here. So I am first a mother, then an entrepreneur, a very serial social entrepreneur. So I am always creating something. I always see opportunities. I love what I do. I'm an educator. I think that you can transform lives through entrepreneurship and education. You can give power to people with these two things to make decisions to change their lives. So I'm very creative, very passionate, and I'm a nonstop dreamer. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Alex Rodriguez. I'm also a director of a center. This center is located in one of the campuses in the Inter-American University of Puerto Rico. For the last 12 years, I have been working entrepreneurship as my life. And basically, we have been taking this to another level. Right now, we have more than one center. We last 2 years, we started chain of centers. We have now 9 centers under the name Interemprende. To describe myself, I'm an entrepreneur. For 20 years, I have been in business. I had several business from marketing, advertising, digital applications to gas stations. Now, as I mentioned, I'm a professor. I finished my doctor degree several years ago in digital marketing, and I enjoy being with students. I have several associations that I run as a mentor, and always I'm very positive. I think that you have to be positive to change life, and especially in this moment that we live. So hopefully we expect to share with you some of that positivism.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Javier Hernandez. I have the opportunity of leading the business school at Universidad del Sagrado Corazón, which is Sacred Heart University. So very happy to teach entrepreneurship and to promote entrepreneurship. We're just launching a new program where all students at the university will have to earn a supplementary degree in entrepreneurship with 21 credits. So we're including entrepreneurship as something that goes across disciplines. So in 5 bullets, I'm a self-taught musician, percussionist. I work with different artists. So it's very happy to be here because actually, one of the most important influences in Afro-Caribbean music is really come from Nigeria and the Yoruba culture. So I think this is a way of giving back all the culture and all the heritage that we have earned from Nigeria. I'm also a business professor, so I combine arts and entrepreneurship. That's my biggest passions. I'm also an entrepreneur. I own small businesses, especially in food and beverage. So I also loves to execute everything that I'm teaching. But I also believe in entrepreneurship in terms of social entrepreneurship and the role of nonprofits into changing the conditions in the world. But most of it, I'm a fan of creative economy. So I mix arts, design, creativity into value added for society. So my main work has been related to creative economy and orange economy. So nice to be here. So most of us are getting into this, and most institutions are understanding that entrepreneurship is a key tool, a key engine for development, and we have to answer to the same problems in our country. So SDGs, which is the Sustainable Development Goals from United Nations, I think it's one of the most important frameworks that we can use in our classroom in order to identify which problems to solve. I think it's all there. Most of the countries have decided that those 17 objectives are aligned with most of the countries' needs. So it's kind of interesting framework. But then we can go into the next level of countries And each country, and as you will see now in this next slide, we all have to manage different issues. So I have the opportunity of leading the World Value Survey in this next wave, which is going to be published on July 20. By the way, Nigeria was the first African country to deliver the results. So this question is about protecting the environment, even in relation to economic development. So Nigeria has one of the lower scores in terms of this balance between environment and economic development. So that's still a challenge. So I urge you to look into the World Value Survey as a way of see how things are changing throughout the years, and it's a valuable tool to understand the conditions. Then we go into specific issues and problems from each of our countries: youth unemployment, infrastructure. That always is a reality in our countries that we have to change. But one positive thing, as you will see here, Nigeria already have a great and a big entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial development rate. If you go to the next slide with a GEM and the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, is one of the highest rates on this category of countries. So you already are entrepreneurial. Especially, I noticed that women entrepreneurship is very strong. But again, as you will see in the next slide, there is also a lot of challenges in terms of promoting entrepreneurial thinking. But again, if we don't have challenge, we don't need entrepreneurship. So that's one of the reasons we are here. So, but this goes into different levels, and I will let Alex continue with that reality check that we have to understand.
Oh, thank you, Javier. Basically, although my information is based mostly in the United States, I think that we can identify with it. And in a way, for example, this is a exercise that we did some years ago, and this is just the time students are seated from grade 1 to 12. And I think that we have to consider that that's a lot of time when you are thinking that 1 year and 153 days you are sitting hearing a professor. It's important to know that we have to be more creative and more passionate about what we're doing. Next, please. This reminds us that many of the studies done are reflecting that kids today, students today, are less emotionally expressive. They are not so energetic. They are not so imaginative. And one of the things that we think is because we are not connecting them enough to the classroom, to what life it is. And it's not just about what we teach. It's about how we use what we teach in the world and in our lives. Next. Sir Ken Robinson had this great phrase. He says, if we are not prepared to be wrong, you will never come up with any original idea. And I think that we have to tackle these 4 factors. One, global changes are so fast that we have to move with them. We have to adapt. Second, creativity. We have to find a way of working with that right side of the brain. Third, we know that the educational model is a very updated model. We have to change it. We have to make it more one-on-one model. And the fourth point and factor, for me, the most important one, is that we have to learn that failure is just part of the equation. It's part of learning. Next. All this take us to some consequences, and one of them is failure to promote creativity, risk, and problem-solving skills. This is a new century. This is a new generation. We need to create and make these students better students, and the only way we can do that is presenting the right skills for them in the classroom. And by the way, several studies in the United States have reflected something that is also very negative. That is that 74% and 50% of students in schools feels bored and stressed. So we have a real problem with students and the way we're teaching in the classroom. Next, please. If we add that to this, right now, and these numbers are all previous to the COVID-19 virus, we were looking at 73 million unemployed job professionals globally. Next, please. And this complicates more because right now we're looking at 600 million of new young professionals looking for employment in the next 20 years. But at the same time, in less of that time, 80 million jobs are going to be lost. So as you can see, numbers don't add. And one of the things that this is bringing to us and employers is that they are requiring more entrepreneurial experience from each student. By the way, it's expected that we need to raise as fast as possible 75 million new entrepreneurs. That's basically 1% of our population. Next, please. This is basically a very simple graph, but it explains that Africa is playing bigger and a bigger role every time in our world. And it's expected that for the next decade, Africa is going to have basically the same GDP growth as China and 3 times the employment rate as China and almost double the employment rate of Mid East. So we know that Africa needs to what? Continue improving not just education, the mentality, and the students to make them be prepared for tackling this new reality that Africa is obviously going through. Next, please. By the way, one of the things that we have been discussing is that we were expecting, and again, these are before the virus, in 7 years, basically, that half of the population working force will be depending on self-employment. So to do that, we have to encourage students to go more into the entrepreneurial mindset. And that's bring us to one uncertain scenario that Nerma is going to explain us who is going to be in charge, who is going to be in front to take the student to tackle this challenge.
Yeah, taking into consideration all the things that are happening in the world that affected our countries, we understood a few years ago that if you want to change things in your country, you have to start by your children and your youngers and teaching them these entrepreneurial skills are going to be very transcendental for the development of any country. So back then in Puerto Rico, we sat in the same table a lot of people, and we designed this framework to work from the schools and from the education part to transform. So we understand that even though we have a lot of things that happen that we don't have control over them, we can control how we teach people to be resilient and how to find opportunities and how to act around them. So that's why we think that from the classroom we can do a lot of things. I'm an educator, as I told you, so I know that every semester when I stand in front of my students, I have a semester to transform them, to let them know at the end of the semester that they have the opportunity to choose what they are going to do, what with what they learn. So for me, the message for my kids and students are that you need to study. Education is super important, but it's a different paradigm because at the end of your teaching process, maybe you are not going to be able to find a super job because the economy has changed and um, all these things that teach you before, like you have to go to school, then you have to get an education to have a good job in order to get out of your circumstances. That is not what you're going to find. You're going to get an education and then you are not going to find a job. So what do you do with all the things that you learn? So you have to put it in a way that you can work with your own opportunities and put in practice what you learn, so you don't have to wait for someone to give you the opportunity. You have the power to work with that. So I learned that back in my university days because I had this one professor that taught us that, and that was like transcendental for me in back then. So now I have like this mission to let my students understand that education is important, and what you do with that education is your decision. So that's why we think that teachers and educators are the heroes of the classroom, and that from our scenario that is the classroom we can change. We can give them powers and the power and tools to change their circumstances. And when we are talking about poverty circles cycles, this is very powerful when they understand that they have the tools to use their imagination to solve problems and to take action about it. So I think that that's the part that for me is very important, that we have to get out of the classroom and we have to help them put action in their words and ideas. So that's a part of what we first do this, and if each of us practice this in our classrooms. So in my classes, we use the semester to find an idea, to validate that idea, to do the prototype, and to get out there and try to find customers. So making that exercise empower students, and at the end, they know that they are able to do it. So for me, that is my work is done when I see them at the end of the semester talking about their experience and knowing that they know that they are able to do whatever they want. So I wanted to hear from you. I am seeing the chat. So I want to know from you, what do you think are the most important characteristic or traits from an entrepreneur? So if you can write them on the chat, I will be looking at them and talking about them. Let's see.
Okay.
Don't be shy, please help us here. What do you think is more important? To be combative, flexible, inspiring, interconnector, organized, positive, fast. If you can think of three of them, what would be?
Okay.
Positive, resilience. Let's see, one more. The reality is that it's a combination of a lot of traits: flexible, inspiring, positive. That's right. Thank you for your comment. So an entrepreneur has a combination of a lot of traits. Some have more or less, but the most important part is the skill to have the vision and to identify opportunities around them. So not everyone, and it's very important to make a differentiation between the entrepreneur and the business administrator. It's not the same. So you can have a lot of very good people that are have the ability to see a lot of things and not necessarily be good business administrators. So for me, teaching entrepreneurship is not the same of and how do I say it? It's not the same like teaching business administration. Are two different things. For me, my role in my classroom is to teach them how to think and how to identify opportunities around them. The other part of how to be to administrate or to manage is other skills that are not from my class. So that's very important for me to make that differentiation.
Nirma, I think they are going towards responsibility, positivism, and flexibility as the
Oh, I
main.
see. Yeah, responsible, positive, flexible. Yeah. So, being an entrepreneur, you have to be combative. So, failure is part of the process. I think that I don't remember, but my experience in college and in high school is like nobody talks about failure. They don't prepare you to fail, and that's part of the entrepreneurial process. And you have to talk about it, and you have to let your students know that doing wrong things is part of the process, and it's not wrong things, it's like it's part of your learning experience. So if things don't go like you plan, you have to adapt and be flexible. And we are living this right now. We have the coronavirus has affected us as worldwide. So if we don't have the ability to adapt, we are going our businesses and a lot of employments are going to be lost. So be combative is part of what we teach, and be flexible. Like, we have to be able to transform and adapt to changes. Inspiring. We have to motivate others to be better at their roles, and that goes very. It's very near to what they want to do and the vision that any founder has with their projects. So part of what we teach is that each one of our students need to be sure of what they're going to do and why. The why for me is very important. It's the thing that inspires the people around you. So you have to be interconnector, establish networks to strengthen your business ventures. Organized. We have to work with agendas and a business plan, and learn how to move from the idea to action plans. Positive. We have to be fast in the decision making process. Some entrepreneurs here, for example, they don't respond so fast to changes around them, and that's why a lot of business fail. So one thing that we teach is to be able to respond as soon as possible to every thing that happens that is not in your control. So being able to move fast is one of our skills. We have to be able to use technology in our favor. And this is hard working, but if you are doing things that you love, and this sounds like you hear a lot of times that you have to do something that you feel passionate about it, but it's very true. If you love what you do, it's for you. You are going to enjoy it, and if you do something that you don't love, it's going to be hard for you. You are not going to be happy, and at the end of the day, we want to create this generation of entrepreneurs that loves what they do, that are conscious about the consequences of their businesses and their business practices. And that's why we begin all this with the sustainable development objectives, because I think that putting that into perspective with the kids helps them create that solutions that we need to be better at the end of the day. I don't know if you guys have something else to share about this or of this profile.
No, I agree. There is a combination. Most of them. Usually, you have to find and build a team. Most of the time, the team that will complement all those skills and characteristics. Yeah.
Basically, in a way, entrepreneurship is like playing around. You have to find the right people to play with. Sometimes you don't know everything. So, as Nerma mentioned, and also Javier, is just combining the right team, finding the right tools, and just combine the necessary skills so that you can then make things go forward.
Right. So there is a long theoretical framework entrepreneurship, and I think that one of the main challenges is that traditionally the theories on entrepreneurship are based on business development. So that's a challenge, and maybe for that reason, a lot of people has not used entrepreneurship as a valuable tool. So I like to think about this triad. I think it as the trinity of entrepreneurship, because it's three things at the same time. It's an attitude, it's a mindset, it's a culture, it's a way of seeing life. I always believe that it's about thinking in opportunities instead of problems. When you start talking about opportunities instead of problems, you already change and flip your mindset into the entrepreneurial mindset or attitude. But at the same time, it's a process. It's a methodology that takes you from a problem to a solution and to execution. but at the same time, it requires impact in order for the cycle to be finished. So I love a quote from Julio Cortázar, an important Latin American writer, that he says, a bridge is a person crossing the bridge. So it's not the infrastructure, it's the action of crossing the bridge. So we have to be sure when we teach entrepreneurship, we have to be sure that create some scenario. It could be small, but we need students to see the impact of the things they're doing. If we stay on plans, the cycle is not done. So theories on entrepreneurship need to develop more on the side of the mindset, the action, and or the impact and the actual process. But this has been out there for centuries. Since 16th century, the word entrepreneurship was associated with adventure. Crossing the Atlantic at the time, was a very important aspect. And then the theories became to evolve and gave different roles to the entrepreneur. First, as an intermediary, if you see the entrepreneur is the risk taker, is the one in the economy that doesn't have his income or her income guarantee. So if you see the landowners will always earn from the rent, the capitalists would always earn from interest rates, the workers will always earn from labor, wages. But the entrepreneurs is in the middle of all that, trying to create value and trying to manage risk in order to add value to the economy. So then there is managerial role. Schumpeter described the entrepreneur as an innovator, and this is a very important contribution, because it described that the entrepreneur also is not looking just for a return investment only. It's the satisfaction of doing something new, something different, and something from impact. So he talks about the creative destruction as creating new in equilibrium in economy by trying new combinations. So it's also a decision making. But as Kirchner said, I love his concept of alertness. An entrepreneur is someone who is always alert of the things that is going around him, looking for problems and translating it into opportunities. So if we can use the classroom to teach students how to be alert, how to be great observers of their environment, and at the end is something about empathy. If you have the sensibility of getting into people's shoes and understand their problems, you will be able to start the entrepreneurial process by providing alternatives and ideas and actual solutions.
And this concept has been evolving. So back in these last decades, we have seen a lot of understanding of the entrepreneurial process. So Dr. Jeffrey Timmons from Babson College, he made this the Timmons business model. And when I began to work with entrepreneurship and teaching entrepreneurship and helping people to start their businesses, so I was working day by day with a lot of people that were trying to start something, and I was like, I need some tools to help me work with them. So in that process of doing my research, I found this theory of Dr. Jeffrey Timmons. And this theory states that the entrepreneur have to make a balance between the opportunity, the resources that they have, and the team. And when I was reading this, I was like, this is very interesting. So let me see the ideas that all the people were giving to me or were consulting with me through the eyes of this model. So when I began to analyze all these ideas, we saw that people have the opportunity very well defined. They know what resources they have, and they lack the team. And this was like repeating all over and all over. So that responded in our case to a cultural issue. So here in Puerto Rico, if you think of an entrepreneur 15 years ago or 20 years ago, then the entrepreneur figure is a person that do everything alone. So I work with the problem, I work with the solution, I will develop everything, and I will not share it, and I will not ask for help. And that's what was like how people thought about starting businesses. So when we began to work with this, I noticed that part that the team was not there, and it's very necessary because no big venture or no thing happens with the help of one person. You need a team to work with you, so you need to work with that mindset. And we found in the school, in the classroom, when I started to work with my students and tell them that they have to work in groups, I found a lot of resistance. So they don't want to work in teams. So I began to work with that because they have to understand from the school that in order to be successful in anything that you are planning, you need your team and you need to work with that. So this theory of demons give us a framework to work. So then I keep looking around, and I found this theory that is the effectuation theory, that is super interesting. And the effectuation theory talks about how the entrepreneur thinks. So this doctor Sara Saraswati make her uh, doctoral thesis about how the mindset of the entrepreneur work, and she established some traits. And it was super interesting because I am an entrepreneur, so I think like that. But putting that into a research work was very powerful for us to understand that there are theoretical bases to put into action, not only in the classroom but in our workplace, in our case. So she stated that entrepreneurs start with their own means. So I have an idea and I look around and I say, okay, what I have and how can I start with this? I am not going to wait to have a lot of large amounts of money, nothing like that. And this is very true, because if you think of the successful stories like, the Steve Jobs and the Bill Gates and all of these huge entrepreneurs, when you see their stories, you learn that they started with very low resources in their dorms, what they got. So it's very interesting because these very big entrepreneurs started with a little bit at the beginning. So she stated that the entrepreneur thinks, what is the affordable loss? If I do this, what is the worst thing that can happen? I can manage this or I cannot manage this. If I do this idea that I have, the worst thing that could happen is that I have to get a job or I lose $3,000. I can deal with this or not. So if you can deal with this, you go on. She says that entrepreneurs take advantage of negative situations and turn them into opportunities, the lemonade effect. If life, we have a said here in Puerto Rico that if life give you lemons, you do lemonade. So they think like that. They are positive and they see opportunities, not problems, like Javier said a few slices ago. She believes that entrepreneurs use their network to start. Who do I know that can help me open doors? So they activate their network to help them do their work. And at the end, they have this mental process, and then they start doing, and in the process of doing, they adapt. So she established these principles from interviews to entrepreneurs that got their projects into public ventures. And that was very interesting because being able to read this and to understand this help us to understand that soft skills are it's a very important part of this. So when I am working with my students, I work with them uh, with the principle of how can we do the minimal viable product with the things that we have around us? So if you have an idea, you are going to put it into action, the minimum viable product with what you have. So they have to be creative and use whatever they had on hand to make their project and to go out there and make the experiment. So these give us or give me the theoretical base to our approach.
So one big way about this the entrepreneurship as a process is seeing it as a roadmap. So entrepreneurship is a very chaotic process. It could be segmented into multiple stages, but there is here you have a small, very straightforward example. I have to think about entrepreneurship and trying to turn this process into actual exercises or dynamics in the classroom. So first we have to understand who's the entrepreneur, what is the importance of mindset, the triad, the characteristic that we just mentioned. Then there is a why. There's always a why in terms of why I'm doing this. What is the importance of going to pursue this this entrepreneurial journey? We have to answer the why, because that will bring us issues about sustainability and what things we are solving. Are we solving real problems? And then we can go into the opportunity recognition phase, which is actually go there and see where are opportunities. Usually there are gaps in the market. Usually there are things that we can do better, or usually there are things that are absolutely new, and we will be able to create a new movement, a new trend. Based on opportunities, which in the past we used to say problems, but in the future we will just say opportunities. Then we can go into the creative process of generating ideas. Quantity over quality. We just want to throw beautiful brainstormings with all those ideas that we can imagine, no matter they're absurd, they're unreal. We want to go into the creative process. After the creative process, definitely we have to go in the next stage of validation. We have to go out there, we have to get out of the building, we have to ask questions. And then when we decide which of these ideas is worth to move forward, then we can go into the business model, how this is going to work. Most of the time we create things that we expect to work in the long term, but we need a sustainability model. And then we have to execute, as I mentioned. But sometimes these words are very business oriented, and language is powerful. So let's make a flip. Let's try to think about questions. The mindset is the who, the mission is the why, the opportunity is the where, and the what is subdivided into idea and validation. But as I mentioned, I always like to divide the process, because I don't want the rational part of it to block the creative process. So let's have a free creative process, and then let's go into the science of filtering ideas. And the business model is the how. It's the how. And the execution is the when. If we're not able to put a date on projects, they will keep, as plans, and we don't want that. But again, language is powerful. So we can go even a step further in terms of trying to find the right words, depending on what context we are in. We talk about the profile. The mission, the why, is about passions. It's about what I'm passionate of or for, and how can I turn this into an opportunity. And then I have to listen, I have to see, I have to develop my OIMAL senses in order to understand what's going on around me. And then the idea generation is about creativity and about research, the whole validation process. If you go into the scientific process, it's very similar to the entrepreneurial process, right? And business model is a synonymous of sustainability. How do I make this work? And at the end, you have to manage resources because we don't have unlimited resources. So we have to organize and develop a structure of project development. So what we are proposing is that this roadmap could be turned, if you teach math, if you teach science, if you teach history, if you teach Spanish, English, you can all apply, or the whole process, or maybe simply just stages of the process. That we start this session with the context, and the context is keen, right? So sometimes in some courses, what we want is for people to understand the context in order for a further phase to deal with it. Think about history class. History is about context. It's about understanding what have been doing right and what we have been doing wrong. So how to flip a little bit a history class in order to, how would you make this different if you had the chance of going back into history? So those, we can find exercises, simple exercises, one step at a time. We can turn this into a mindset, as we were mentioning. But we want to hear from you, and we want to discuss a little bit about how can we apply this in the context of the classroom, and maybe mention some examples of what actually we do.
Thank you, Javier. Basically, what we want now, if you can use your chat and give us some examples of your challenges. We know that we have here about this is impossible to do in the classroom. We don't have the funds. All that challenges, we have met them before. And I think that every educator have the same challenges in the classroom. And I think that if we hear from all of you, we will have a better idea of your challenges and see how we can work with them. However, it's important to indicate that you presented an entrepreneurial perspective, like a positive, flexible, inspiring, and opportunity-oriented entrepreneurs. So you look like you are in front of a great attitude, and I think that's one of the main problems, attitude. So we would like to hear. We have like 4 minutes. We would like to hear about your challenges in your classrooms. So if you can write in the chat, we will appreciate.
So any ideas?
Or you can write about the challenges, or if you have any questions that you want to ask us about how we do it, or simply to discuss it, this is the time.
So we have to try to find, creative ways for this. Just one quick example. I love to throw SDG goals in papers and cut it and put it in an envelope, so students can have to pick one of the papers with one SDG. They have to read the SDG. They have to understand what it means. They have to apply it to a context of his community, and then go into a brainstorming process with the group in order to find solutions. So I think there's a lot of quick exercises, and we have to be entrepreneurial. We have to try things. A lot of things that we try at the classroom doesn't work, but we're just using the same process of validating and iterating, right?
Yeah, and we have a comment here that more of these trainings should be compulsory for teachers. And I want to comment around that because here we started a transformation in Puerto Rico, working and training teachers in entrepreneurial mindset, because we believe that if we transform teachers' mindset, we can transform our students. So this has been a work for the last 3-4 years. So far, the three of us has been able to train 550 university professors in order for them to train teachers, high school teachers, and so on. And this with the help of the most important bank here in Puerto Rico. So this has been like a changing scenario and a transformational one. So we are beginning to see right now how these students are getting into the university with that background of entrepreneurship. So when I receive them in my classroom, they have a different mindset. So we can see now the results of beginning in the classroom with these entrepreneurship skills and exercises and practices. So when they got into higher education, they have a different mindset is the word, and they see things different, and they use the classes and the knowledge with other perspective. And I think that that is what we are looking right here in Puerto Rico. And the most important part is that uh, we started this conversation with important players that allow us to do this work. But is you have to have a lot of uh, how do you say you have to have a lot of strength in your mission to start this transformation. So through the education and uh, through the professors that understood that we really can make that change in the classroom is how we have been able to do all this work.
There are, let me tell you, there's amazing questions, especially that one about how to groom and integrate the SDGs goals and how to do it in the classroom. I think that, first of all, it's very important to understand that every educator, every student has the capability to be an entrepreneur. We have to understand that being an entrepreneur is working together. So sometimes limitations are things that we again put in our minds. If the language is a barrier, let me tell you my experience. My first class, when I teach an English class, my first language is Spanish. What I did was get into an agreement with students and say, you know what, my English is not so good. So if I write something wrong or I say something bad, just let me know. And that ability to be compatible with the student, to talk the same language, is very important to learn, but also to understand that to be an entrepreneur is
Yeah.
to take yourself, and you have to throw yourself, take chances, and don't be so observative. Don't be so looking at what people will say or what people will think. It's important for a teacher or educator to become an entrepreneur by just one thing: doing what they want to do with their students, loving their students, understanding their students. I think that the key here is how we can work together issues for the benefit of the collective.
Yes, Alex.
I want to. I'm sorry, sorry. Let me
No,
talk.
no,
Let me
you,
talk.
you, you,
I want to address some question here because I have a question there that how can this be applied to much younger learners, 5 to 6 years old? And I want to share that we designed an entrepreneurship curriculum for kids, and the way we did it was like for 5, 6, 7 years is like put them into the perspective of what are the problems of their community and how they can solve it. So I have this case that we were working with 6 years old kids, and they identified that there's a problem in their community with the mosquitoes. So their solution was to make a mosquito repellent. So we find a natural formula for them to work. So we combine math with Spanish or language, marketing, and at the end they produced their mosquito repellent and they went out to the community and sold them. And with those, they earn money, and we divide the money for them. So at the end of the process, they learn how to identify a problem, how to find a solution, how to make it, and at the end they got the money, so they used that in whatever they wanted because they earned it. So it was a super beautiful process, and in that process we used a Montessori school teacher to guide them because it was very practical. So I just wanted to share that with you, Tiana, because you can work with them to help them learn how to be alert, how we said back in few slices ago, that process of alertness. And it was super powerful for them, being able to identify a problem and to make the solution and to go out there. The process for those children was amazing, and at the end of the day they were able to do a pitch for that, so it can be taught to youngers. Yeah.
Nerma, I just want to comment something related to that same question, because I think, kindergarten is the model. It's the model we have to reproduce. So we have to move. I just quoted a book in the chat, which is Lifelong Kindergarten. We have other grades. We need other grades to be closer to kindergarten, where you play, where you imagine, where you create, and where you enjoy what you create. So that one was one comment that I want to do. But regarding Ma'am Omolola Ayo mentioned about SDGs, I think it's a great reference. And also she mentioned something about major problems. So don't be afraid of use major problems. That's the problems we want to solve. So let's be confident into using this in the classroom. We're not going to find answers and solutions in the short term, but we can do it in the long term. And regarding the triad, I think that we have to apply the process to ourselves as teachers. So maybe how the way I can execute the triad is with one project at the school. So how can I change my class for next period? That's an entrepreneurial process. So let us try ourselves the process with our teaching responsibilities. We have to design a syllabus, we have to design a plan, we have to try it, we have to iterate, and we have to present something, and then we go to the director and says, this is the process I run, this is the assessment, and I'm moving forward with A, B, or C scenario. So we have to execute it ourselves.
Yeah. So our time is up, but we are going to be back next week. I see a lot of questions there that I would like to address, and I'm very happy to see all of those questions. So these are our contact information. So feel free of writing us with more questions or other topics that you want us to work with in our next session with you next week.
Great.
Thank you so much, Nema. Thank you, Dr. Alex. Thank you, Dr. Javier. We're so very honored to have you here, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Yes, yeah, we are very honored and happy to be sharing all of this with you. So please really feel free to write us and let us know what else you want to address in these talks that we are giving to you.
Thank you so much. So we'll be in touch next week. Thank you so much. So very much.
Yeah.
And bye-bye. See you next week. Bye.